Hello everyone, I'm Fozzie or Cam. I'm here as always with my co-host Will. How are you doing today, Will?
I'm doing great, Cam, and I just want to say real quick for our audience off the top here. I don't think we've mentioned this yet, but I think it was not too long ago when we had Mike as a guest on our podcast, and unfortunately, during that episode that he appeared on the podcast, he once again returned to some behavior that does just not fall in line with what we deem to be acceptable behavior. Fans know that he has been suspended from the podcast once again. This is probably like his third or fourth suspension at this point. Too many to count by now, but I just want to let our fans know that that behavior will not be tolerated, and it's the same policy as always. If he apologizes for his behavior, we will welcome him back. Otherwise, he will remain suspended. It's been the case before. It's the case now, and it's going to be the case going forward. And Mike's going to have to learn that.
That's for sure. I don't know if any of you have been fans of his appearance on the podcast, and if you are fans of his appearances, you can keep that to yourself because he doesn't need anyone else praising him. He does enough of that himself. So, yeah, like Will said, if an apology is issued, things can be changed, but as of now, things are going to stay as is. But on another note, rest in peace to Jane Goodall. That is just terrible news, although I will say she lived an incredible life, accomplished many amazing things, broke barriers, made change, and did all the impressive things you could ever want to do and more. I mean, she's really an iconic figure at this point in time, and yeah, it's just terrible that she passed away after a very long life of dedicated research to something she was very passionate about. And that's just really no matter who, like wherever your opinions lie, that's something you gotta appreciate. So yeah, rest in peace, Jane Goodall. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, just what a legendary, iconic life she lived. I mean, I don't think we're ever gonna see a human being. I don't think we're ever gonna see a human form a connection with an animal quite like Jane
Good,
Goodall
yeah.
was able to do. Just unbelievable. I mean, the work that she did for the chimpanzees, all of the environmental work that she did. There are some people who leave the world a better place when they leave it, and who leave behind a legacy that will live on forever and go on forever. And Jane Goodall is definitely one of those people. I literally cannot think of somebody who could have lived a more dedicated, impressive,
Yeah.
or inspirational life. I just think the life that she lived was absolutely extraordinary, and I just have profound respect for her and the stuff that she was able to accomplish while she was here. And it's sad that she passed away, but she passed away at 91 years old. She lived
Yeah,
a long, full, incredibly impactful life that's
for
going to be
sure.
remembered forever.
For sure. And I will say we last episode was definitely a detour for us. It's just because we kind of talked about some real world topics, but that's not what we're doing today. You know, we very rarely do that, and we're going to continue to rarely do it, despite currently our government being shut down, which is crazy that that doesn't warrant an entire episode about it. But I mean, I don't know. I guess it's happened before, so you can do some research yourself. It's very interesting. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, we're looking to have a normal episode this week, a very normal episode, and that brings us to something that we're very excited about. Jimmy Kimmel. Well, I guess this kind of does relate to last week, but Jimmy Kimmel has returned to air. Despite us thinking that what he said was maybe a little bit insensitive. I mean, have the right to freedom of speech, and especially when it comes to being a comedian, you can say things. it would really be censoring yourself if you didn't want to say things, despite us thinking maybe it was a little bit insensitive, a little bit too soon, sure, but still, it becomes a rights issue at the end of the day. So I'm glad Kimmel's back, and I'm interested what to see what happens in the future with him. How are you feeling about this, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also very happy that he's back. Maybe he could have handled things differently in terms of the comment that he gave about the MAGA
Yeah.
people trying to characterize the person who killed Charlie Kirk as anybody other than one of their own. Maybe that's a comment that he could have held back on, but Jimmy Kimmel was not defending Charlie Kirk's death in any way. He put out a social media post on the day of Charlie Kirk's death, offering his condolences to Charlie Kirk and his family. Made it clear in his return monologue, that he wasn't in any way, trying to make positive light of the killing of a young man. So, whether the comment that led to his show getting pulled off the air, maybe that's a comment that he could have chosen not to give.
Or
And,
worded differently. I
or
don't,
we're, yeah,
or waited a little bit, you know?
yeah, for sure. And I mean, look, there can be, everybody is entitled to freedom of speech,
For
but
sure.
that doesn't mean that, someone can't give in insensitive comment on the air and be given a suspension and be taken off the air for a little bit. But,
Yeah,
even if,
especially because
yeah,
he has such a wide influence. So, I mean, if this was going to be any pun, I don't know if even this was too much, but still, when you have that much of an influence, things are heard by a lot of people. So, some sort of action had to be taken.
yeah.
But
And
it,
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, no, no. Did you have anything else
No, that
to
was it.
say? Okay, got it. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no. I mean, I agree. I mean, like, I think everybody is entitled to freedom of speech. But I'm not saying that someone can't say something insensitive and and be given a suspension or pulled off the air for a bit. I'm fine with that, but I don't think the Kemmel thing was in any way worthy of him being pulled off the air
No way.
forever or pulled off the air for a long period of time. I don't think it was anywhere in the category of being worthy of that. So I'm very happy that is back that he's back. I do think there is a legitimate conversation that can and would deservedly so, be had about how all of late night right now is totally leaning to one political side. There's no diversity amongst the political opinions of late night hosts. So people who are liberal in their political views can feel represented through the late night talk show hosts, but people who are conservative in their political views aren't going to necessarily, be drawn into any of these talk show hosts. So I do think there's a legitimate conversation that can be had about how totally left leaning all of late night is right now. And I'm not saying people can't say something insensitive and be given a suspension. But I don't think this Kemmel thing was ever worthy of him not being put back on the air. And I think Jimmy Kimmel is a good person who means well, so I'm very happy that he's back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like I said, I'm just interested to see how he handles this in the future. And I think if, I mean, obviously, if you have that influence, you want to share your opinion, but I think staying just a little bit more neutral and maybe stop, and maybe not alienating as many people would benefit these talk shows. And I get it. You don't want to censor yourself, but I don't know. It just might be in their favor to focus on more good, positive, uplifting things. Because at the end of the day, they're comedy shows, not really political shows. But, different people want different things from talk shows or whatever. So it all remains to be seen what ends up happening, especially to other late night talk shows after seeing this instance. Um, and obviously Fallon's made some statements, so I'm interested to see if anything happens there. Well, we'll see in the future. Probably next episode we'll have something to say about that. But moving on from that, I wanted to talk about a movie that I saw last night. And it's a movie that I have been very excited to watch for really quite quite some time. And that movie is One Battle After Another. If you're unfamiliar with One Battle After Another, it is a drama, adventure, action, thriller, high intensity movie directed by the one and only Paul Thomas Anderson, director of Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights. This guy is a Hollywood legend. When you think of director, you should think of Quentin Tarantino, you should think of Martin Scorsese, and you should think Paul Thomas Anderson. He should always be in that sort of conversation. That being said, though, I am not really a Paul Thomas Anderson guy. I'm not a PTA guy. And that's not because I dislike his work, it's just because I haven't really seen much of it. And there really isn't a reason for that. I just haven't gotten there yet. But so this was really my introduction to Paul Thomas Anderson, and I'll just say it right now, it did not disappoint. One Battle After Another is one of the best movies of the year. It's up there with Sinners and Weapons in my top three movies of the year. Not to spoil my end of year ranking, but oh, it's high up there, and it might end up taking the number one spot or two, or it might stay in the three spot where it is currently. So we'll see. But I really love this movie. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio, he doesn't really do movies just to do movies. So whenever he's in a movie, you know it's probably going to be at the very least an all right movie. And this obviously exceeded that. This was a great movie. It was a great performance from Leo. You really feel for that guy the whole time. You really feel for his character Bob the whole time. And then you got Benicio del Toro, who I've also been a huge fan of for quite some time. Just because I like him. I feel like he's a really cool guy. Um, but I'm also a huge fan of his work in The French Dispatch and more recently The Phoenician Scheme, as I'm a big Wes Anderson fan. So yeah, I love Benicio, and his character here was fantastic. It was very funny, and I was very interested to see his side of the story and what he was doing, fighting in his own sort of revolution, and that was just really cool to see different sides of it, you know? Um, the story was great. You think it's going to be one thing when it starts, and then it takes a turn and it becomes a whole different thing, and that's really cool. Uh, I mean, really, Sean Penn is the best part of this movie, and that's crazy for me because I don't really know Sean Penn. Like, I haven't seen him in anything. I know of Sean Penn, and maybe it's just because I haven't watched. I think, well, let me rephrase that. It's because I haven't watched enough movies. But from what I hear, everyone loves Sean Penn. You know, he's a multi-Oscar winning actor. Um, he's very supportive of Ukraine. And he's amazing in this movie. He plays this horrible person. He's the villain of the movie, and he plays literally the worst person you could imagine. He joins what is essentially the KKK in this movie, a modernized version, I guess it seemed to me, which is again just a crazy thing and just shows what an unhinged lunatic of a character Sean Penn is playing here. He is off the walls, out of control in this role. He is a real standout for me. And I would not be surprised if we saw some sort of Best Supporting Actor nomination here along with a nomination for Leo, Benicio, and Paul Thomas Anderson. I would not be surprised if either in even a Best Picture for this. One more thing I wanted to mention: um, the score. The score for this film is outstanding. It's so subtle, but so intense at times, so creative. It's really just piano, and sometimes you'll hear just piano keys, like every so often. light piano keys, and that's all you're hearing. That's the only score that's present, and it just helps build the intensity. And that's just direction at its finest. That's making the score at its finest. It's incredible. It really is. So, yeah, I'm a huge fan of this film. I'm sure I'll only love it more as time goes on. But I guess you guys will find out where it ranks on my in the end of year movie ranking. But on a more well, kind of related note, you got actually before this, I wanted to talk about how terrible the this news is. This past week in the NFL, Tyreek Hill, I believe it was an ACL tear. Um, yeah, brutal injury, very unfortunate. And I just wanted to think how horrible of a position this puts the Dolphins in, just because of how horrible they are now. And my plan for them in the future was to get rid of Tagovailoa, just because I think Tua should retire, honestly. I think he should. I fear for his health. He's suffered too many concussions. He's not that great at football. I just need him. I think he should retire. I think he's better off retiring. McDaniels, I mean, isn't doing what he should be doing with this team, and I think he'll get fired. So if McDaniels is fired, and then my idea was perhaps with a weapon like Tyreek Hill, you could trade it to a team, possibly the Chiefs again, for some pretty good value. So you get some value from Tyreek, perhaps a draft pick or whatever, and then you'll have Waddle as a wide receiver who's already a perfectly solid wide receiver. And then you'll have A-Chain as your running back, who is one of the best running backs in the NFL at the moment. So not Tua, Tyreek getting injured like this is just not gonna be great for the Dolphins. I feel terrible because they were almost there. They almost had it all. Tua was healthy, Tyreek is nasty, and then it all went bad. But I'm interested for the future of this team. I actually have been interested in the Dolphins for quite some time now, just to see how their story develops. I'm talking about it like it's a movie, but still, I'm very interested to see what happens in the future there. But anyway, what I was going to talk about after that was kind of just unplanned. But we were going to talk about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie trailer, and I did a lot of talking. So, Will, what are you thinking when it comes to this upcoming movie?
Yeah, so The Mandalorian, like seasons one and two, I think are some of the best Star Wars content ever. I think those are two masterpiece seasons. And season three, even though I wouldn't put it on the level of seasons one and two, I still really enjoyed season three and thought it was a very good season, even if I wouldn't put it in the great category of the first two seasons. And there were a couple episodes from season three, episode three and episode six of season three that I thought were the two worst episodes of the show. But putting those two episodes aside, I still thought season three was a really good season, even if it wasn't in the category of seasons one and two. So when I heard that there was a Mandalorian and Grogu movie, I was like, okay, this could work, because Star Wars has come out with some great movies, over the years, and it's not totally, out of the realm of possibility, that a Mandalorian and Grogu movie could work, So I'm not saying they couldn't experience success with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, but I also feel that there's a risk in taking something that has worked so well on the small screen and changing it and putting it on the big screen, because think about the amount of time that the Mandalorian had to tell all of their stories each season. They had probably like 10 or so episodes each season to tell the story that they would want to tell. Now they have like a 2 to 2.5 hour movie, which massively shrinks down the amount of time that they had to tell the story that they want to tell. Something I did like from the trailer was seeing them put Grogu back into the spotlight because Grogu really didn't even need to be in the majority of the Mandalorian season 3. That was a
Mm.
season about
That season really
uh,
didn't even need to exist. I
yeah.
didn't
I
like it
mean
at
that
all.
yeah, I mean that was a season about the Mandalorian and Bo-Katan Kryze, not a season about the Mandalorian and Grogu. So I did enjoy seeing Grogu back front and center in the spotlight. And look, I don't want to act like I want trailers like to give everything away because you don't want the whole movie to be spoiled by a trailer. But when I saw this Mandalorian and Grogu trailer, I just nothing about it made me go, "Oh, yay. I'm so excited for this movie." Like I enjoyed seeing them put Grogu back front and center and them really making it about the Mandalorian and Grogu
Mm.
again, but there was nothing about that trailer that really gave me any sense of what the movie was going to be about or what I should be excited about with it. And also like in the trailer, like I saw certain moments where they were, clearly trying to appeal toward younger fans
Oh
by
yeah,
giving
a lot of
by
the
giving by
Grogu
giving
scenes, yeah.
by giving Grogu, I guess you could call them cute moments. And I'm fine with Grogu having some cute moments, but I also want him to have badass moments too. Like I don't want the cute moments to outweigh the badass moments. So I mean, look, let's see the second trailer. The second trailer will probably give us a much better sense of what the movie will be about. This was just a teaser trailer, but I didn't really get any sense of what the movie was about or what I was in for or if I should be excited for it or not. So, I'll wait till the second trailer comes out. Maybe that'll give me a better idea, but so far my juices aren't really flowing with this movie yet as much as I love The Mandalorian and Grogu as characters.
Yeah, I mean I see what you're saying, and I have a lot of these same things that I agree with, really. And I mean, I'm happy to see Mandalorian back. Some of those fight scenes look great. I saw Zeb in there, who
Yep.
is obviously in Star Wars Rebels. Huge fan of that show. I'm a huge fan of Ahsoka too, and he was absent from that show despite it really being a Star Wars Rebels sequel at the end of the day, which I'm not saying that as a bad thing. Like I said, I love that show, but yeah, he was noticeably one of the Rebels absent, so I'm glad he's here. I'm interested to see what Sigourney Weaver's character does. But yes, I think some more could have been shown. But then again, I kind of don't mind being left in a little bit of mystery. I remember when the first Superman teaser came out, it literally didn't have really any dialogue, and that just made me more curious and more amped up for the film. And I think that's kind of like what this is doing. I have to see, when does this movie come out? This comes
May
out
of next year.
May. Wow. So soon. Okay. Well, not soon, but sooner than I thought. But yeah, the cute moments with Grogu have always kind of annoyed me, because they seem really cash grabby. But you think about that, but then you realize Jon Favreau is the director of this movie.
Yep.
And he's a director, you know? He's not Joe Schmo who's gonna do whatever the studio's gonna say. I feel like he kind of is the studio because he's proven he can make really good movies. He directed Elf. He directed Iron Man. He directed
Yep.
Chef. All four of those movies, or yeah, was that three? Is that three or four? Whatever. Three. All of those movies are fantastic. And I don't see really a world where this isn't good, at least, you know? Um, So yeah, like I said, very interested to see mostly the Mandalorian's arc here because obviously he is one of the most interesting characters. I'm interested to see if there will be any other Mando verse characters, maybe Boba Fett. I don't know. We'll see. But it's definitely all a possibility right now. It's all on the table, especially with Jon Favreau directing this film. But yeah, the trailer definitely didn't give much away, which I don't hate. And yeah, it does look like it's a lot of Grogu, a lot of silly little Grogu shenanigans. Um, but if that means I get another Star Wars movie, then I'm all for it. Because think about it, when was the last time we had a Star Wars movie? It was
December 2019.
exactly. So that alone is a special enough feeling to make me excited for this movie just because I think that feeling of Star Wars being back is just incredible. And I'm sure the hype will be way higher by the time this movie releases or by the time it gets close to the release. I'm sure obviously they'll step up the marketing, more trailers, etc., etc. So yeah, excited to see what happens here. Very amped that Jon Favreau is the man behind the camera here, and yeah, very happy that Star Wars will be back in theaters. But speaking of trailers, Deliver Me from Nowhere is the new Bruce Springsteen film, and it had a second trailer come out. And before we talk about that, something came to my attention, and that was me just going onto IMDb casually, as I am now. I search up Deliver Me From Nowhere, and I see it has a 5.5 on IMDb with, while also having a, you would say, pretty high score on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know what is happening, but I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I like it when a movie that I'm excited for is good, generally, especially one like this. So, is this potentially not true and could be review bombing, whatever? Because obviously Bruce is kind of a polarizing figure these days, so that's always a possibility. But I haven't really seen anything that makes me think this movie's not going to be great. The only thing I've seen, and that it's really just because I'm a Bruce fan and I know him so well, I feel like, is I just don't totally love Jeremy Allen White singing here. But, I mean, nonetheless, I think he's doing, from what I've seen, especially in the second trailer, he's doing a really good job with someone who's so iconic. But how are you feeling about this, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I've expressed, I expressed on the podcast before that, I know Bruce Springsteen so well that I thought, I could have a hard time, accommodating to Jeremy Allen White playing Bruce Springsteen. And I still think it'll take getting used to, but the first trailer that came out for Deliver Me From Nowhere, I was like, yeah, good trailer, but it didn't have me like hyped. And look, I'm at the point where I just take all trailers with a grain of salt. I've seen enough things come up where a trailer for a movie will be great and then the movie won't turn out to be great. Case in point, I thought the first trailer for Thor Love and Thunder was great. That movie
Yeah,
turned out to be, I feel like, one of the weaker Thor movies. The first trailer for Karate Kid Legends I thought was amazing, and that movie, I'm just going to say it, turned out to be awful. Just a really, really bad movie. So I take all trailers with a grain of salt, but if I'm judging the second trailer for Deliver Me From Nowhere purely off of the quality of the trailer, I thought it was an excellent, captivating trailer. I feel like sometimes when you see trailers for big Hollywood movies, and not that there's any problem with this, but you'll see like a lot of action sequences and they'll be like big and loud with like a lot of noise and a lot of stuff going on. And that second trailer for Deliver Me From Nowhere, I felt it was like just quieter and more intimate and getting to the heart of Bruce Springsteen and having the actors
yeah.
say really captivating lines that that the audience can really resonate with. So we'll see how this movie turns out to be. As I said, I don't trust trailers anymore, but just grading the trailer on its own, I thought it was an excellent trailer. And then one thing, that I thought was awesome is Bruce Springsteen sharing his love of the film at the, I think it was the New York Film Festival. Bruce praising everybody involved with the film and talking about how much he loved the film and giving a very emotional performance of Land of Hope and Dreams. And like we were talking about with Jane Goodall earlier, she's somebody who's left behind an incredible legacy. And when I was watching 76-year-old Bruce Springsteen up there on that stage singing Land of Hope and Dreams, somehow his voice still strong, after all these decades, I was just like, what is it going to be like when Bruce Springsteen passes away? Hopefully, I mean, Jane Goodall made it to 91. Hopefully, hopefully we can get Bruce Springsteen to live into his '90s. But I was just like, man, what is it going to be like when Bruce Springsteen passes away? Because I just think that guy is special, and I think he's
Mm.
and I think he's just one of the most remarkable mu musicians out there. I marvel to this day at how talented he is. In the biopic, I gotta give credit to it. It has my attention, and I am going to see it because I thought that second trailer was excellent.
I completely agree with you. It's amazing what he's doing in that he's still doing it, and that's crazy to me. That he's still doing it. Um, but yeah, I will also be here day one, no matter what. If they butcher his character, I'll if they butcher him, he's not a character, he's real. If they butcher him, I'll be there day one. If Jeremy Allen White gives the best performance of all time, I will be there day one. It doesn't matter. This is someone who I've looked up to my entire life. This is someone whose music has inspired me, and I've just listened to it my entire life. And yeah, I'm gonna be there day one, and I'm very excited for it. On an even more different note, right now I'm doing something that I like to do, and that is rewatch movies. I'm a big movie rewatcher. We've talked not last podcast, but the podcast before that, and so yeah, here I am rewatching every single Spider-Man movie, and a ranking will be present on another episode, as I am keeping track and ranking all of them on Letterboxd. So yeah, definitely check out the Letterbox. But yeah, going back on all these movies is awesome. I mean, I've seen them. I bet I've probably seen all of them more than once, so I'm just adding to that. But it's been, I think, the last time I watched the Toby and Andrew movies was maybe before or just after No Way Home came out. So that's a little bit of time, right? And I mean, we got Spider-Man movie coming this summer, and I think that's maybe what pushed me. But I also kind of just wanted to watch it again, and it had me going crazy because, and right now, where I'm at is I have just, or I'm just about done with the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is better than I remember it being, and that's kind of just happening with a lot of these movies. I have a lot of new thoughts, a lot of different thoughts, and I guess that just comes with getting older and having different thoughts. Um, but yeah, in terms of my favorite Spider-Man, I mean, I'm really only looking at Tom and Andrew right now, just because I haven't gotten to or Toby and Andrew, and just because I haven't gotten to the Tom series yet. I've obviously seen them all a few times before, but I'm more focused on that, and I think it's weird because I used to not love Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. I didn't used to not love The Amazing Spider-Man. They're good movies. Andrew Garfield's really good. He's a really good actor, and I think him and Emma Stone are the standouts because I mean, if hopefully you know now, Emma Stone's like a real and Andrew, but Emma Stone particularly is a really good actor, like a high class, high tier actor, like an actor, not just a box office type actor. Anyway, her and Andrew just act laps, I think, around everyone in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, including Tobey Maguire, including Kirsten Dunst. I mean, they're just outstanding. I mean, these are both. I don't know if Andrew has an Oscar. If he doesn't, he should. But these are both two. I mean, at least Emma has an Oscar. So yeah, they're just their chemistry, I think, is great together, and I think they were actually in a relationship at the
Yep.
time. So that probably that definitely helped. But then again, I think Kirsten and Toby were too. So um, yeah, maybe I remember that now. I remember when No Way Home was talking about everyone was talking about the Spider-Man dating their Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy or whatever it may be. I kind of forgot about that. That's fun. But yeah, that definitely helped their chemistry. I mean, The Amazing Spider-Man 1's a really good movie, and I think the
Yep.
visual effects in The Amazing Spider-Man are really good, and I've noticed that a lot while I'm watching The Amazing Spider-Man 2, especially. That has some really great effects and some really creative decisions when it comes to music, when it comes to effects, whatever. But then I used to love Spider-Man 1, Tobey Maguire. It used to be my favorite Spider-Man movie. Now it's not. It's kind of outdated, and I hate to say that, but it is. It's just a little bit outdated in the way that not every shot looks great. It's a little too campy, which is crazy. It's funny. It's so funny and fun, but it's a little too campy. But I think that gets perfected in the second one, and I think that's actually number one on my ranking right now. Not to spoil, but it's probably gonna say there. But that's kind of mashup thing. It's a perfect level of camp, perfect level of humor, while also having a good dramatic story. I just don't think Toby is a great Spider-Man Peter Parker. He doesn't quip enough as Spider-Man, and he's kind of annoying as Peter Parker. And then you get the third Spider-Man movie, and that's just, I mean, we've all talked about that recently, but that's just an insane movie, you know? So much is going on, and it's kind of like a messier Amazing Spider-Man 2. Not a bad movie. So fun. So much energy, so much life. I don't think there's a bad Spider-Man movie here. But yeah, it's always just great watching these movies again. But with that, there's more to come with the Spider-Man rewatch. With that, thank you all very much for watching this episode of the Everything Podcast. Will, thank you so much for joining me as always. Glad to be back here doing a normal episode, and we'll see you next time.